Hey, what's up, everybody? All right, so today we're going to talk about going from like our sketches into our final design. So I've printed up the worksheet that's designed to like help us kind of like lay this thing out. So one thing that's kind of important to realize, and the further I go through this, the more like I'm realizing this, is that we don't really want this like black square actually in our final photo. It's just going to kind of get in our way. So I've put these hash marks along the edges here, and the purpose of those hash marks is so that you can take a ruler, you can line it up with both of them, and you can use your pencil to start like laying this out. Okay, now ultimately your final image does not need to be precisely within this box. It could be a little bit bigger than this box that you're drawing. It could certainly be smaller than this box you're drawing. Um, I know for fact that like I want my logo to be a little narrower than it is high. So when I started my drawing, I think I came in like a quarter inch from each wall vertically, because again I want this thing to be more narrow than it is high. So I came in like a quarter inch from each wall. And I just kind of like, again, drew some layout lines into here. Okay, and then from there, and I'm not going to go through like the nitty gritty of this, but I started like laying out my logo. Um, and it looks, something kind of like this. Definitely want that to come out as far as the piece on the top. Okay, I want like the inside of my B to be pretty parallel with like that line there. So I'm just looking at both lines as I go to create that. Then, and again, on my actual logo, I took a lot more time like laying out the interior of this B, trying to make it a little bit more parallel and whatnot, right? This is just like the quick nitty gritty here, just to get you guys the general concept. So started that. I also kind of like created this like lip to the top here. Then I went through and I erased the things that like I didn't want, right? Do that before you pen things in. Erase what you don't want. Get rid of it. The cleaner this drawing is, the better it's going to transfer to the digital version. So just, try to stick within this like as much as possible, and just like get it cleaned up as you're going through. Okay, and then once you've gone through that bit, then it's going to be time to start penning it in, right? And a Sharpie, like an extra fine point Sharpie, is ideal for this. A regular black ballpoint pen would work also, like a gel pen would be really nice for this, but you just really want like a nice, smooth, black outline, okay? Like a pencil really just isn't going to cut it with the digital aspect of this. So you just really want to get like a nice, crisp outline. And again, maybe you want to be using rulers to like make these straight lines versus just like hand drawing them like I am. But again, I'm just kind of flying through this for lesson's sake. So I set this up. Okay, so that's the general gist. I'm gonna like kind of wait a second here Probably should wait another second, but I'm just kind of anxious to get moving on. So again, I'm going to come through now after I've penned things in, and I'm going to give it like one last good erasing, trying to clean everything up as best as possible. And honestly, for doing something pretty quick, that came out pretty nice actually. So that's cool. This is the one that I took a little bit more time on. Yeah, I like the inside of my B better on this one, although honestly I like a lot of this one better too. Oh well. Um, this has taken me like a few tries, honestly, like to get to the point where I'm happy with this, but I think that this down here is pretty good. Okay, so geez, we're already 6 minutes into this. All right, so we have our logo kind of like put together, my logo put together. And now I'm ready to start bringing this into Pixlr. So the first thing we're going to do here, let's zoom out a little bit. The first thing we're going to do here is we're going to take our camera. Okay, so I'm not using Adobe. How do I do this? I'm not using Adobe Scan. I am simply using my camera app. And I want to get directly above my photo, trying to keep things as square as possible. And I'm going to snap a picture. Okay, so again, when I go and I look at this photo, what I'm really trying to do here is I'm trying to make it like from directly above. I'm trying my best to align this vertical line with like the top of the photo. Okay, trying to keep those parallel as best as possible. It's not going to be perfect. We're going to be able to do some editing later on digitally, but we're going to do that. And again, you really need black marker. If I've tried this with just like dark pencil, it really doesn't work out well. Okay, so we need black marker. And it's really important to keep things as clean as possible, but you can kind of see I've made a bit of a tiny mistake up here. I can get rid of that digitally later on. But it takes more time, honestly, to get rid of things digitally. So again, keeping it clean, setting it up, will help things out quite a bit. All right, so we're gonna start with this, and again, we're gonna start to move on to the next step here. So that next step is going to be in here. So first of all, you have the Pixlr E thing in your document, but if you just go and just Google Pixlr, we want Pixlr E. Okay, and that it's a free image editing tool. There is advertisements associated with the software, but you know, all in all, I think that the software is pretty nice. So we need to open up an image, so I need to grab the image. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now off camera is I'm just going to like email myself that image and download it to my computer. You could do this on your Chromebook, you could do this on whatever. You also could put it in Google Photos and bring it in, you know, do whatever you want to transfer that photo from your phone to the computer. All right, so here's that photo. This is in my like Google Photos website because I have an Android device. You might have an iPhone. Maybe you can go to like the iCloud and grab it. But again, do whatever you need to do. I'm going to download this image and use that for Pixlr. So we're going to open an image, and I'm going to go to downloads, and I'm going to select this, and I just want it to be in full HD. That'll be fine. And so there is the image, and I need a mouse. So there's the image. And the first thing we're really going to do is kind of like get rid of some of these like bits on the outside and try to like clean this thing up some. So when we're going to crop, we want to set, so again, I'm selecting this tool over here. We're going to set this up to be a ratio, and like it's just going to be a 1:1 ratio, which will be fine. We're going to shrink this down. We want this to be basically just smaller than the box. Okay, and again, if you didn't like align things up well, which it seems like mine is actually lined up very well, then you can go to straighten and you can slide this banner and it will rotate. And basically you just want to get this side here aligned with like the side there, or the top aligned with the top or whatever. But it actually seems like for me, I think that my straightness came out pretty darn good actually, so I'm not really going to worry too much about it. And again, I'm just trying to shrink this box down and fit it to the point where like the box is just a little smaller than the box on the drawing. Maybe I do need to straighten this just a tiny bit. Let's try like 1 degree, wrong direction, -1 degree, maybe like -0.5 degrees. Okay. So again, just shrinking this thing down. Okay, and it really is important that it's pretty big, right? Because we need the space to be able to put the circle in later on. I'm also going to show you guys how to like edit that and make it bigger, but we're going to say apply right now. And now I'm left with this here. Okay, so I'm going with simple colors here. All right, I just really want like a black and a white image. But again, we can't use just like this dirty, dingy, like white paper. We really need to edit this thing to the point where it's like legit white. So on the side here, we have this like magic pen tool, all right? And tolerance is basically like when I click on this thing, it's gonna grab images, okay? And sometimes we want to bump the tolerance up, which means that it will like grab more things, or sometimes we might want to bump the tolerance down where it's going to grab less. So there was actually like a little spot on my sheet before that with my tolerance being lower, it didn't accept that. Now it has, so that's cool. So I think that's pretty much where I want it to be. So once that's highlighted, I can start to come through and I can start to color things. Okay, so again, when I can select like down here on these colors, I'm gonna again just do like a white color. And for the opposite color, I'm gonna do a black. So I have black, I have white, boom. Okay, so the main body of this thing is gonna be white. So I wanna make sure that the white circle's on top. I'm gonna select the paint bucket and I'm gonna drop the white into here. Okay, and again, we've gone from that kind of like dingy colored, you know, you can see the paper right there, to being bright white, right? So it's different, it's different. Get rid of this add on the bottom here, zoom in. So now we can start to see like that pen tool didn't grab everything, okay? So while things are still selected, we're gonna grab this brush, and right now the brush is pretty big. We're gonna turn on the hard tip because that's gonna make it like really fill things in, and we're going to come around and we're going to start to fill in some of these gaps. I'm also going to fill in and fix my mistake up top here. Now notice that my pen is too big, so if I click up here, I can change the size of the pen down, like let's say a 10 even. Okay, so now my pen is a lot smaller. You can actually see that like, oh, I can't edit that because it's been selected in the other thing. So watch what I do. If I grab this rectangular box, this is going to be, if I can get it to start, this is going to be basically what I can draw within. So I'm going to select that and I'm going to go back to my brush, and I got to be careful because I can erase things that I don't want to erase. So I'm going to undo that, Control Z. And I'm going to come in and just clean up that error. okay? Then we can zoom back out again and boom, like that thing's fixed, you know? And if I wanted to, like down here kind of needs some work too, but notice I can't draw down here. So once again, I need to create a new box. This is basically like I plan to edit within here. Again, maybe my brush is too big, so I'm gonna step down to like a number 5 brush. And again, I can just kind of like clean this up ever so slightly, you know, and like try not to get too much stuck in the weeds there. Like when you're in really close, it doesn't look quite so good, but you zoom out and it looks a lot better. So that's really great, I think, so far. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start selecting the interior of my letters and I'm going to make them black. So I can either do this one at a time by selecting one. I can flip my colors around and I can start to fill things in. And again, feel free to like color things the way that you want them to be. I can also, instead of using that like black there, I can come in and I can select like the black from my marker and I can try to fill that in instead. Again, you can kind of see how like some of this stuff isn't getting filled in. We can come back in with the brush and like start to like clean this up. Again, it's not going to go outside of there, so I can almost like I can just bump my brush size up really big. Let's say like a 20. So now I can just kind of go around and like clean up those edges somewhat. Okay, nice and clean. That looks pretty good. Then I can move on to my next one. So I can select down here. If I hold down the Shift button, I can select multiple spots. If I hold down the Control button, I can unselect different areas. Okay, so I'm going to hit Shift and select both of these. And again, I'm going to fill this in. I'm going to fill this in. And then I'm going to come in with my brush and just kind of clean up some of my edges, make sure that all of that stuff is getting filled in. And you're going to notice at the end too, there's still a gap. We can kind of like clean that up too, but it's just going to be a little bit more precise and persnickety. But we can come in, just kind of like clean up our edges. You know, and again, just try to like neaten things up a tiny bit. So again, when we start to look at this thing here, and if I zoom in all the way, you can see these lines here, right? And again, we can see like how there's like this gap. So a couple things you can do for this, okay? So first and foremost, if you select the entire objects, then you can color anywhere within the object, right? So again, we can go back to a brush. Definitely going to change the size of my brush down to like significantly smaller. I want to be on that same kind of like color palette that I was in before, and I can start to edit this in here. Okay, and start to like clean that edge up a little bit better, right? When we bounce out, it gets a lot better. Remember, you're going to be seeing this pretty small. So, I mean, you know, again, when you're like zoomed in here, you can kind of see the difference between like the black edging and the gray that I'm kind of using on the inside. But once you zoom out, it gets a lot less noticeable, you know? So don't stress too much about what it looks like when you're zoomed way in. Keep zooming out, check it out, see what happens here. Okay, so I'm going to finish just filling in these edges off camera quick. At this point, I've gone through my black, right? But again, there are some points here where even the white could go in. So I've switched my tool over. Then I can come in and I can just kind of like, you know, erase kind of, right? Some of this like stuff that's happening here. And, you know, get some of this stuff, again, edited just a little bit more in here. Just really trying to like clean this thing up just like a little bit more. That looks pretty good. Oh yeah, much better, you know? So the other thing that you can do, I believe, let me see if I can figure this out. Hold on. Yeah, so like another couple little tricks here, you have shapes down below. Okay, so you have like a square, line, stuff like that, right? So at this point, I'm using a square, and I've set both things to be my background color, which is white. So that's both the outline and like the middle. And when I go to create my rectangle, notice you don't even see it up there, but as I bring it down, you're going to see like it starts to erase my drawing here. So I can use this to kind of just like square the top of that off a little bit. I could probably even use like the circle to some degree, like to kind of like clean that up a little bit. Helps a touch, you know, and I could maybe even use like a line to help kind of like clean the bottom up, you know, which you can see that line is kind of small. So maybe if I like increase my stroke a little bit. I don't like that. Control, undo. I think ultimately this is pretty good. All right, so that's enough of like the fine tuning. Let's now talk about what we do to make our images. So the square image is pretty easy. We're already there, actually, ladies and gentlemen. So we're just going to go File, and we are going to say Save. And here are our options, right? We're going to set this up as a portable network graphic, a PNG. And I'm going to name this, in my case, Bash Woodworking. This is my third, okay? And this is also going to be square. All right, so I'm going to download that image, all right? So now that's created our square image. What is up with the edge there? Huh. Looks like I have some of the like black in there still. So I'm just gonna, again, we gotta like kind of create the box around this. I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna put another rectangle in like the side over here to clean whatever that artifact was on the edge up. And we're gonna try this again. So File, Save, PNG. Again, this is going to be Bash Woodworking. I'm just going to still name it 3 square. Download. Okay, so now when this opens up, hopefully that artifact is kind of, yeah, it's still there. Huh. Weird, weird, weird. You know, again, though, as I got to recall that, you know, right now this thing's pretty big. It's going to be a lot smaller later on. So I'm not going to stress about it too much. I'll see if I can figure that out as I go along. As far as putting the circle in, so the circle can be a little bit more complicated. So the circle itself, if we come up to the select tool up here, we can select a ellipse tool. If you hold down the shift button, so like if you just were to select this, you can make this any shape you wanted to. It's basically how I created the side of the W there. But if you hold down shift, it's going to turn it into a circle. Can't have the circle go outside your image, otherwise it's going to like get cut off. So you're going to start down here, and again we're going to hold down shift to give us like a perfect circle. We want to create a circle that's bigger than our logo. Again, circle, start down here, hold down shift, leave it inside the box. I'm going to let go of the mouse, let go of shift. Then I can move this thing around to like center it. Then we're going to delete what's behind here, but we need to like invert this process, okay? Because if we were to hit the delete key, then we're going to delete everything that we want to keep. So that's not what we want to do. I'm going to Control Z to undo that. I'm going to go up to the top here to select, and I'm going to say invert selection. And notice now that it's like the ants marching is on the border as well and in the center. Now when I hit the delete key, I have removed that background, okay? And we are left with what's called a transparent background. That's what this like checkbox thing is. It's just like the default background. And the reason why we're using what's called a portable network graphic is because PNG files will maintain transparency, where like a JPEG file would turn anything that's transparent into white. We don't want that here, okay? So again, we're going to go File, Save. I'm going to name this Bash Woodworking 3, except in my case, it's going to be not square, but a circle. I'm going to download that. Okay, and again, you can kind of see the image here. When this gets put on like something that's a different background, that really won't show up. So it seems like that's like the cut line or whatever. So not a big deal. And those two files, in my case, Bash Woodworking 2 or 3 square, Bash Woodworking 3 circle, those are going to be the things that I attach to the assignment on top of my scanned brainstorming activities. Okay, so in the end, you're turning in basically 3 different files, maybe more. All of your brainstorming, which again, it could be 1 file, it could be like 10 files, who knows? Then you have your circular one and your square one. Okay, so hopefully this video helped. Play around with the software, see what you can do. I think that you guys can really create some really awesome stuff here. So hopefully it works out for everybody. All right, bye-bye.